It is 7 o'clock. I welcome everybody to our regular commission meeting this evening. And if you would, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. The first item this evening is to consider the minutes of the June 24th, 2025 meeting.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a couple of seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. And motion carries. Next item this evening is regarding special assessments. Denise?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so in your packet you have information on the special assessments that are going to be assessed for this new upcoming bond. Letters will go out to each of the property owners on the 17th, and they have 30 days at that point to pay this. This right now is going to be the public hearing for them, for anybody that is a property owner of that, to protest the petition itself or the way the specials were spread. They can't say they don't want to pay their special assessments. This is just to see if there's any errors and that kind of stuff. So we'll have to open up the public hearing and then listen to comments, and then after that we will approve an ordinance levying the specials.
At this point, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak?
This is just a public hearing for specials.
All right. At this point, we'll close the public hearing.
So I have I have an ordinance number of 5170-25.
I move we approve that ordinance. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. Next item this evening is discussion on the 2026 budget. And this is going to be a team effort. Danielle, are you going to kick it off?
Sure. Alrighty, so 2 meetings ago, we introduced the budget. We've had several discussions regarding the departmental budgets, what R&R is, the impact of the increase in assessed valuation would mean if we took the entire assessed valuation but kept our mill levy the same. Today, we are going to review the questions from the last work session. There were several items that you tasked staff to look into. And those items are actually outlined through this PowerPoint. So the first item, I'm actually going to kick off to Ms. Donna. And then from Donna, we're going to kick off to Rebecca, and then we'll wrap up with me.
We're tag teaming.
Team.
One of the questions was about the difference in what we had wanted the mill levy to be and what it actually ended up being. I think this was your question, Leroy. The R&R is a mill levy rate at the beginning, and then it's a dollar amount, and that's what they go by, with the dollar amount. So when we had our evaluation back in June of last year, we decided just to go with 11% and not the whole 12.7 or whatever it was, so it knocked a mill off. Because the year before that, we were at 72.361 mills, so we went down to 71.361 mills. And that, at that time, that valuation netted us $12,342,837 of tax monies that we would get for the year. Well, here comes November, and the valuation goes down. So to get to the same dollar amount, the same $12,342,837, he had to up the mill levy a little bit to get our same dollar amount. So that's why you see a little different mill levy than what we thought we were going to end up with. I've only seen the valuation in November go down twice in the last 8 years. Usually it's up, so we would have came across, but we have to figure on the June because that's what we're given. If we'd have went with so the difference is just about $435. He's just getting as close as he can to that dollar amount. If we had went with the R&R rate and we had a change like that, we'd have lost $132,000. So that's one reason we do try to exceed the revenue neutral rate each year, because it's so unwieldy. We don't know for sure what we're going to get at the end. But this keeps our tax monies that we needed for our budget the same. Does that make sense, kind of? Okay. The next slide is, another question was what would the increase in residential taxes would be with our 4.5% increase this year. And so it just kind of shows you, like the top one for a $75,000 home, the taxes in '24 was $1,540. With a 4.5% increase, it would raise the taxes to $1,600. So that's a $64 increase for that year for that homeowner. That is all entities. Just for the city portion, which is about 40% of our taxes, it's would be a $35 increase. And it just kind of goes down like that for all the different levels of home values.
Can we get this slide deck?
Donna, if I just a quick mention, because I think it's important on the all entities number on the increase. So if you have a $75,000 home and the increase shows about $65. That is assuming that everyone stays at the same mill levy and takes that increase of assessed valuation. That could be higher, that could be lower. So I just wanted to point that out, that's assuming the county and the school district stay at their mill levy and take that increase.
It's also assuming that each home
Yes.
increases the same amount.
Yes.
Right.
Which doesn't usually happen. So it's assuming a lot, but it gives you an idea kind of what could happen, I guess.
All right. One of the questions that we had was for a look back on the abated taxes. And I apologize, I actually have a detailed schedule I was going to give and I forgot. I will get that to everyone. We were able to work back through our records and with the county clerk, we were able to get you a 15-year look back. Prior to that, it's on a different system that's requiring some archival digging. But we wanted to at least give you the look back for 15 years. And you can kind of see those ebbs and flows as the projects come on and off. And these are just for your economic development or industrial revenue projects. This does not include your permanent tax abatements like nonprofits and churches. So this is just those incentive projects where you're using that money as an investment tool. And then again, just so you can kind of see what the abatements would be rolling off in future years, you currently only have 3 projects. And so this is the years that they would be rolling off and what that in the 2024 valuation and mill amount would be in each of those years. Of course, that's obviously subject to change because of the valuations and mills that would potentially be changing in the future. Oh. And then I'll just start this one off, but Donna and I worked on this a little bit together. These are the other items, a couple of them that you mentioned wanting us to look at, a public safety sales tax potential, intangible tax potential. Both of those items, I think Donna had mentioned would take a substantial amount more work than preparing in the 2 weeks we had. I don't know if you had more of a timeline for when we could be able to bring those together, but.
The public safety sales tax, I kind of have an idea. I can show that to you maybe the next meeting.
Okay.
Intangibles, I have not had time to work on at all.
The other thing we wanted to just keep on our PowerPoint here was that there was a notice that we wanted to continue to obtain those public inputs, maybe especially through the comprehensive planning process for items moving forward for this body in upcoming budget years. And then another piece that had come on there was a decision on funding the senior center request.
Did you want me to keep that going? Did you want to have her come back every year? What was your decision for 2026? This year, we did pay $5,000 to them out of the EcoDevo fund, which is where we're also paying the health ministries. and the chamber. So we could add it,
Remind us again what their request
What was
is.
their ask?
20.
20.
Just a flat 20?
Yes, sir. The,
How is our economic fund balance?
I believe they did submit their, what we had requested from them last time when she came. Can't exactly remember what it was, but something about their budget, or,
right, so,
but I think I was going to reach out to Daniela about it. Did
She
she?
submitted it. Mhm.
She did.
Donna just mentioned that there was a request for $20,000 for their budget, to supplement their budget.
and that they have been submitting their financials and their reporting of their statistics, so they did give us their annual report.
Yes.
Did
the
that-
annual.
Yeah, okay. I didn't see that, so.
Yes, yes. But it's
I
not,
think you were out.
yeah, that was the time you were at. Not something we normally get like on a monthly basis that we could request, but on an annual basis.
I mean,
We don't need to make a decision on that right now, do we? Or,
Pretty close to we need to make a decision.
yeah?
Rod had an open
My
question.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're doing well. Right now, I think I'm showing projection of ending with about 2 million at the end of this year. We stay around that. So it's coming in good and it's going out good as well.
4 years ago, we were funding at what level? 10? Do you remember me right?
I did 25 there for.
Well,
Did we do 25?
1 year we did 25,000. And then after that, it was, let me look that up while we're discussing.
Yeah,
I'll
please.
give you an answer here in a little bit.
Okay.
So prior to last year, giving them the 5,000, when was the last time that we funded them?
We did not give them any money last year.
Oh, we didn't.
The year before that, I think we gave them 5.
Okay, that was the year before, okay. So
So looking,
prior to that, did we know when the last time we funded them?
I just was able to
Do you
pull
have
up.
pulled
Yeah, I got
chart?
it pulled up. It looks like we, you stated in one of the documents you've shared with me, Donna, that we started funding them in 2017 at $15,000, 25 and 18, 25 and 19, and then looks like 10 in 2020, and 20 in 21. So about in the same ballpark.
Do you remember, we did away with funding during COVID? Was it COVID related?
We did away with funding when we didn't feel like we could rely on the data that they were
Gotcha.
giving us.
Which it seems like they put better effort
They're
They
doing
have.
a lot
They
better.
have.
and
They really have.
I'm impressed with the way things are.
I'd like to see if we could fund
And
their
like I
request.
said, their board is very motivated and dedicated, and
And we could
see
keep
the way-
funding them out of the Eco Devo Fund like we do the other two, if you would like. Then it would not hurt our general fund.
Well, I'd certainly be in favor of finding a way to fund them for what they're asking.
And what level are you wanting to fund them at? The 20?
20.
The 20.
Okay,
I think,
I think you got forehead nods.
okay.
for 20? Is that for 20, right? Yes. Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Thank you.
Well, that's the last slide in this deck. So,
Next, we need to talk about the revenue neutral rate and the intent to exceed. In June, we were notified by the Harvey County Clerk that our revenue neutral rate would be 68.820. This would be a difference of 3.403 mills from the current mill levy of 72.223. At the June 24th budget work session, the commission instructed staff to prepare the paperwork to notify the Harvey County Clerk of our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate. So we will stay at the 72.223, the same one as we were in 425. This would capture an increase in valuation for $610,000 for the 5 funds, which is the library, the special liability, bond and interest, airport, and general. This is a 4.95% increase over the November valuation. And I just need to have a motion that you will approve the intent to exceed, so I can get that sent to the county clerk by the 15th of this month.
Do we have a motion?
I will make the motion that we do intend to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next item this evening is to consider issuing a RFP to solicit bids for demolition of the building located at 320 North Main. Sir?
Thank you, Commissioners. As you are aware, 320 North Main has been slated for demolition for several years now. We've had several investigations checking for contamination, soil. Still, we are negotiating with BNSF, and Chris could maybe weigh in if there's extra questions on that. But what is before you this evening is an RFP to start the process to get this building demolished.
Righty. Commissioners, any discussion? It's nice to see it moving forward.
I think it's wise to parallel the end of the negotiation process with BNSF
So
with going through with this bid package.
I'd call for a motion to consider the approval of the bid package and setting the bid and
I would
date as
so move.
suggested. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item this evening is consider next steps related to Safe Streets for All grant by approving requests for qualifications for action planning services. Ed?
Yeah, again, so the SS4 grant has kind of been stalled out a little bit due to changes at the federal level from staffing and requirements as part of the grant process. So here very recently, they've been moving really quickly to start moving this process forward again, and so we want to maintain that momentum and then present what I've presented you tonight is the RFQ, request for qualifications to a consultant to start this process for the SS4 grant.
I motion that we approve the RFQ for action planning services.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries. Next item this evening is to consider an agreement with State Historic Preservation Office for Newton to be a certified local government. Rebecca?
Thank you, Mayor. As you may remember, Newton has been a certified local government and had that agreement with the state of Kansas since 1998. A certified local government agreement allows the city, through the Historic Preservation Commission and your Historic Preservation Officer, which I'm currently serving as, to take on certain state law review duties as it pertains to historic preservation properties, eliminating additional time and procedure of having those properties go to the state. So we do those reviews on behalf of the state. In 2020 was the last time we've had a new agreement. You may remember that early in the first quarter of 2020. In 2023, there was an amended agreement when the Historic Preservation Commission was decoupled from the as in Newton only and not Newton North Newton. So this is the 5-year mark. They are asking for the same agreement. One of the specialties in our agreement is our appendix. That allows us to do administrative reviews. One good example of that is if you have a commercial building in downtown and you want to replace your roof, you don't have to apply through the state of Kansas for the historical review, and you don't have to come to our Historic Preservation Commission meeting. You can do the paperwork and we can review it administratively. We try to get that done in as quick turnaround as possible, usually less than 48 hours, and you can get moving on your project. So it really helps spur our development. Currently, as far as we know, we're one of the few designated Main Street and CLG communities, so that really helps those two entities partner together to help continue to revitalize and rehabilitate those structures. So all I would ask for you is if you'd like to continue on this agreement, to go ahead and approve the agreement as presented, and the mayor will sign.
I move we approve the agreement as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries. Next item this evening is Airport Runway 826 Reconstruct. This will be Brian and Chris.
Good evening, Commissioners. As you recall, back in April, you awarded bids for the reconstruct of 826 to Donglinger Construction. And that time, you also approved city staff applying for a couple of grants, one through KDOT Aviation, State of Kansas, Kansas Airport Improvement Program, and then also from the federal government, the Airport Improvement Program through the FAA. At this time, it's time to start getting this ball rolling. And so now in front of you, I've got three different documents for you to review and approve, and then we'll talk about one of the federal grants that has recently come through. The first document in front of you is the KDOT Aviation grant. As you recall, we separated the bid tab out for the electrical portion of the reconstruction project because we weren't sure if we were going to go over budget with including this in there. And so we were awarded an Kansas Airport Improvement Program grant for $671,361 from the state of Kansas. As you recall, we did take bids for that already, and we know those bids for construction has come in at $448,024. So, and then obviously our local match on that is 10%. So that'll be our portion that we're required. So it will be, we got a grant that covered more than we needed for that. So that's a good thing for us. And so what I need from you all tonight is to approve that grant. You guys are the signatories on, the mayor will be the signatory on that. As I've already presented this to the county earlier today, and they have signed off on it as well as co-owner. So that would be the first step, would be to approve and the KDOT Aviation grant.
And then just to clarify for the public, this $44,802.40 is split half and half city and county, is that correct?
That is correct. Okay. That is not our portion, that is both entities' portions as co-owner, correct.
So we're going to take those
We can
in
do it.
line.
Absolutely. If you want to approve the grant agreement first, then Brian can present on the next item.
I move that we approve the grant agreement.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the KDOT Aviation Grant Agreement and the agreement with Donlinger Construction.
We need to do that one separately.
That'll be next. The agreement with Donglinger Construction will be the next thing we'll discuss. So we kind of break this into three separate
There's two
actions.
Donlingers. Is there not?
We have it teed up as specifically the KDOT grant agreement as one, and then Donlinger as the second item that Brian was going to talk about now. Are there two in the packet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
There's, I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
They brought it to my attention that this was not in there just a little bit ago.
Yeah, sorry
So
for the
I don't know
confusion
what's-
on that. It was three separate documents that were
three separate
intended to be
documents.
uploaded.
And,
So
yeah,
So maybe if the first motion could just be the KDOT grant agreement, and and then we can go over the Donlinger contract.
Okay, so we got the KDOT grant agreement is the first one with a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners, for that. And then, of course, the second agreement in front of you is the contract agreement with Donlinger Construction. That is the agreement to begin construction, to kind of give Donlinger the high sign to say, let's start moving forward with that. They can start to prepare to mobilize and get things rolling with that program. And so this is that contract agreement with us. We would ask that you would allow city staff to sign on our behalf to approve this grant agreement, or to approve this contract, excuse me. And of course, I would stand for questions on any of these topics, so please don't hesitate to ask if you have questions or need clarity on anything.
I would move to receive and allow city staff to sign and execute the Donlinger contract.
Can somebody tell, since it's not in the packet, can you tell me where all the money's coming from on that? With
So,
the local match of $400K.
Yeah, that's, I mean, the grants that we have applied for and have a conditional thumbs up from the FAA would be our IIJA grant as well as our AIP grant from state apportionment money. And that's where the bulk of these funds come from to pay in this case, $4,723,000. That comes from the federal, most of it comes from the federal government grants that we've applied for. And we're anticipating that those grants coming in any day now. I did get the IIJA grant has come in already, but the AIP grant has not. The FAA has said that those grants will be issued sometime at the end of June and beginning of July. So anytime after the 16th of June and before the 14th of July, I'm anticipating those grants to be issued. But at this point, we have not seen the official documents for that final. Like I said, I have seen the IIJA one. I do have that in my hand. We'll bring those to you. Hopefully, we'll bring those to you in the last meeting this month. So.
I think what Rich is wanting to know is so the KDOT grant shows that there is a cost of, there's a local match of $44,000, which puts us at $22,000-ish. The Donlinger contract puts us at $472,000, which is about $236,000, and task order 3 is about $59,000, which puts us at about $30,000. So for a total of, I don't know, $260,000 to $280,000 that the city would be on the hook for. So the question is how is that funded? And maybe that's a Donna question.
It's actually $288,536.
Right. But my actual question, and that was the first half
Okay,
of it,
okay.
okay? Or actually, that was the back half of
Okay.
the question. First half of the question is I'm not comfortable signing any agreement if we don't have the grants in hand.
We do have the Donlinger contract. We do have the KDOT contract, and we have the contract with HNTB.
Right, but if there's a $4 million contract with Donlinger, and we're waiting on IJ, that acronym, which just came in.
We have that, and that's worth about $1.4 million.
So there's still another $2.5–3 million gap.
And you've got the digital trail to prove they have approved that, right?
I have the digital trail that they gave us, the thumbs up on the original, yes, as far as what. Now, obviously, if something should happen, the FAA should come back and say, we changed our mind, we're not going to do this, then that would kill the whole project in general. I mean, there's no way. And then at that point, it becomes a legal discussion between us and Donlinger Construction at that point, I would presume.
Brian and I discussed this a little bit last week too, and this contract with a Kansas municipality would be subject to cash basis budget law, so I would see that as an unbudgeted obligation that wouldn't be.
Null and void.
Yeah, exactly, or not necessarily enforceable, right? Exactly.
Right, but I still would be, I think I'd be remiss if I directed staff to sign an agreement ahead of us having the grant award.
I think
I would amend my motion then to, what's that?
Go ahead.
Do we have to vote on the other one and then?
Well, you don't have a second on that other one, so you can just make a whole new motion,
Okay.
because there was never a
Well,
second.
this will be a whole new motion, and I'm going to move very slowly.
Okay, I got you.
I would move to receive the Donlinger contract and allow city staff to sign and execute the contract after we receive the grant funds or something that would indicate that it's 100% certainty that we're going to receive the grant funds. Will that work?
Second.
Do we have a second?
A second?
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? You got you thinking there, sir? What are you thinking?
Me?
Good?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Let's go.
Well, I'm good with that modification there. Just directing staff that only after we have those funds.
The only consideration that I would bring to your attention is that the 90-day hold on the budgeting or on the cost of this ends tomorrow. And it's intentional. I mean, we held it as long as we could. It was part of the bid agreement with Donlinger Construction that they would hold the bid price for 90 days. And we knew this meeting was going to happen. We tried to hold out as long as we could to see if we got the grant in hand. I don't know that that means that there will be an increase in the bid price after tomorrow. It's just, it could happen. It's a possibility that it could happen. I'm just making you all aware of that
So-
as we move forward.
So then, Chris, is there any language or wording that we could use to avoid any kind of liability if that grant does not come through and we give the approval tonight? I know you made the motion how you did.
Right.
But if we were to let him move ahead and so that it passes tonight so he can give them the approval tomorrow, is there any wording that we can put in place so that Donlinger can't come back with a lawsuit and say,
Yeah. The law on cash basis budget, is that it does not need to be specifically included in the agreement for it to apply. It applies to any contract with the municipality. So anyone that contracts with the municipality is taking that at their own risk. So in that situation, I won't put words in Brian's mouth, but he's acting in good faith that this is coming through. And it's not a matter of we may or may not. It's just a matter of time. And that's why he's disclosing it just as full disclosure to you all that it is not official. But I think he's done a lot of those calculations and believe in good faith it will come through in a matter of time. So I'm glad that he brought up the secondary issue of the price lock and it expiring. Otherwise, your motion's directly on point. We would have two ways to attack it. One would just be to ask Donlinger to extend it. The other would be to just rely on the cash basis, that on some outside chance that it does not come through, that would be our position. It's not anything that we would try to enforce. It's not, usually we put it in the contracts that it's spelled out. So I don't know if I have a good answer for you.
has it ever happened in your 10 years here?
No. It's not, as far as the grants not coming through, no, it's never happened. And in fact, I'm sure we could probably go back in the archives for 30 years nationally, it's probably never happened.
The big beautiful bill.
Yeah, I mean, this money's already been apportioned out of because it's part of the Airport Improvement Fund, which is not tax dollars, it's user fees. And so as part of the Reauthorization Act for the FAA, these dollars for these airport improvement programs have been cut out, have been funded already. We have no reason to believe, and we are in constant communication with our central region, and they have told me repeatedly that, yeah, it's coming. We've got a lot of them to pump out. They have over $4 billion that they have to write grants on, and so you can imagine the sheer number of grants that they have to write over any particular year. And so it just takes time for them to get it out. Some grants have already been issued. We're just waiting for the rest of them to come out, and they have assured us that those will be out in the next few weeks. So, but I have never seen it where, in not only my 10 years here, but in 30 years in the industry, I've never seen where if your region, your controlling region said you're getting a grant, that they withdrew that grant. So, so I have every reason to believe that this is just a.
So we have a preliminary grant approval communication.
It came out with when they originally came to us and said, hey, we want to fund this project. That was them coming to us, not us going to them. It was identified as a need, but they're the ones that actually came to us and said, hey, we'd like to fund this project for you, and this is how we're going to do it. So they were the ones that brought the project to us and said that there was state apportionment money that they were going to use to fund this program. And so I have a high degree of confidence that this will come through, especially because they solicited us for this program, not the other way around.
The last communication from that grant authority was when?
Well, it's the same grant authority that issued us this IILJ grant, so it was Monday, yesterday.
Well, but you said it was the AA, whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know why we have to rename all these things. Our basic infrastructure, our bipartisan infrastructure law grant is what this was, and they renamed it. So, but that is monies post-COVID that we have been banking for the last 4 years, and actually there will be a 5th year in 2026. And the total amount of that's about 1.46 million, and we have that already approved. And then it's just the remainder of the airport improvement grant that has to be doled out, I guess, for lack of a better term.
So we have a motion and a second up. Do we need to modify it? Do we want to move forward?
Probably
with it?
so. So she'll withdraw her second, or whoever seconded that, and then I'll go back to my first motion.
Okay. So just, if you want to just modify your motion
Okay.
and then she would second the modification of the motion. That's all you need to do.
Okay.
A second.
Well,
Just let him modify the motion first and then.
I would, the one I'll pick this time is to receive and allow the Newton City staff to sign and execute the Donlinger contract as presented.
I second.
so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Hope not.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Nay? Motion carries.
Thank you,
I just
Commissioners.
come to- All right.
The third document in front of you is task order number 3. That's just allowing our consultant, HNTB, to provide construction services for us and closeout services. They will have a person on site during the entire construction phase of this program. And then as you can imagine, the mountain of paperwork that is generated by this program, they will also be there to handle the closeout of most documents minus the financial stuff. We handle the financial documents but they'll handle closeout of most everything else. And so this is just their contract for that. And obviously this is subject to the grant coming through and all of that. It's just, there's no timeline on this. It's just something we need to execute so they can provide services when the time comes to actually do that.
So we don't need to action that tonight then?
We would ask that you would sign it, or at least allow city staff to approve it, to sign it. But again, unlike the grant, there is no deadline against this. If we don't do the project, they won't have the construction services. They understand that. They're our consultant. They're the ones we have as selected as our consultant for the next 5-year term. So this is part of that program, but it's just a document that we can get out of the way. We have available to us to get out of the way so we don't have to do it the next time when we meet on the grants.
So this one we could move to receive and allow city staff to execute this order when we have the grant money in our
Yeah,
possession.
no price lock associated.
I would make that motion.
All right.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carried.
And then finally, the last thing on this, and there's no action needed, it's just I want to bring information to you. We did receive our Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA grant from the FAA. Again, that is dollars that we have been banking for the last 4 years, as well as 2026 dollars. The total grant for that will be about 1.45 million. As a portion of that, the local match, which would normally be 10%, has actually been funded by the Build Kansas Fund. That was an agreement through infrastructure program that the state of Kansas has put together to cover the local match for federal grants. And so we applied for that, and we're awarded the local match requirement for that. So that local match will actually be zero. So that's good news on that. I will bring this as well as the other AIP grant in front of you. My hope is in the last meeting of the month, we'll have both of those in hand so that we can sign those off and start moving forward with the grant, with the grant request and executing the grant itself. Excuse me.
Cool. That's a double win.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else?
I think that's enough for tonight.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Next item this evening is Olympus Filters. Chris?
Yeah, I'll start this off. This is an economic development item. We do have Beth Shelton from the EDC here as well, and she can give some color to this project. Essentially, this is a grant agreement for Olympus Filters. It's an economic development grant of up to $20,000. Olympus has a lease interest in property located at 1810 Southeast 9th. This essentially serves as a rebate of the city share of property taxes in increments until we hit that $20,000 cap. There's an agreement that has the requirements, which is essentially they continue operations within the city. But there's a two-part item. The first is the ordinance that invokes our home rule authority to enter into such an agreement. And the second is the agreement. It's been approved by representatives of Olympus with a verbal approval. I'll hand it over to Beth now to talk a little bit about it and to introduce the representative from Olympus.
Good evening. So Olympus Filters, they are at 1810 Southeast 9th Street. They originally came to us and they were looking at a building. At the time, our inventory was a little bit low, and so they ended up finding a building to lease, which had honey stored in it previously. Sorry. So it's really nice to see this use now where job creation is occurring. I have met with the company several times. I toured the facility when it had honey stored in it. I've seen the upgrades that they have made since going into the building, which it is night and day from what it was before. Zach with the city has toured it before me up both ways. Members of my exec have met with several of the company representatives. So it's a great company. They want to be located here. Normally, with a purchase, we would look at a tax abatement and run a cost-benefit analysis. We still did that on this project, too, even though it was a lease scenario. And I believe it was a return on investment of about $1,000. So it was a pretty good deal for us. Even though we haven't done this in the past, it does show the company we're glad that they're choosing us. They did specifically want to be located in Newton. They want to stay here and grow here. And so I think this is a good way to help offset some of those costs that the company has had to incur with this. They've also brought employees here already that have relocated to our community and are had trailing spouses that are working. So it is a win-win. I'd like to introduce Greg Gaddert. He is with the company, and maybe he can visit with you a little bit about what they're doing out there. Thanks.
Not knowing your procedures, I didn't come with anything specifically prepared, but Olympus Filters is a subsidiary of a company we own out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And probably the most interesting thing about Newton, other than the fact that we were encouraging them to come look at Newton because the labor base here and the supportive community, as exemplified by what you're discussing tonight, but is that it's also in the same industry as Bunting Magnetics. So we are all in this filtration and cleansing process, industrial process equipment. And our people kind of all know the Bunting people. We see them at the trade shows, et cetera, et cetera. So it seemed like a good place for us to locate. And although it wasn't driven as an incentive, we're obviously here and we're working, et cetera. I think it's a great step forward from the city's perspective to support the business you're trying to build jobs here in Newton. So we're happy to be here and excited for what you're looking at.
Thank you.
Let me know if you have any other questions. The capital investment that we used for the project, I believe, was around $875,000, and then the job creation ramp up was 7 employees over a 10-year period. So, and I think those were low estimates because the building already has so many improvements that they've made. The bathroom is beautiful. They've created a new kind of admin boardroom office area. So, yeah, I'm really excited about what's happening out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would stand for any specific questions on the agreement. Otherwise, if the city commission wants to go forward, it would be 2 motions, one to approve the ordinance and a second to approve the agreement.
What's the ordinance number?
5171-25.
I move that we approve 5171-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I second.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Then call for a motion to approve the agreement.
I would move we approve the agreement as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. And motion carries.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Next item this evening is a temporary alcohol permit. Denise?
Yes, thank you. This is a temporary alcohol permit for Sand Creek Event Center. The Comfort Homes is holding a cornhole tournament out there, and the application meets all the requirements. So the first thing you would do would approve the temporary permit that is a city, and then the second thing we would need to do would be authorize a resolution for the temporary permit.
I motion that we approve the temporary alcohol permit for Comfort Care Homes and the resolution authorizing this event.
Do you need those as 2 separate
I
motions?
do, thank you.
Okay. So
Yeah,
I'll get you
just one.
just one for, we just need to approve the permit
The
first,
permit.
and then we'll, after
Okay,
we've done
the
that, we'll do the
permit.
resolution.
All right.
I would second the approval of that permit.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign.
Resolution number,
Yes, it would be G1381.
I move we approve resolution G1381.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Next item this evening is to consider an agreement with Olson for the city's comprehensive plan. Rebecca?
Thank you. So, last item to consider on our regular agenda is an update. I'm going to go through a little bit what the selection process was for this comprehensive plan. You may remember that in February of this year, we issued a request for proposals to select a consultant to work with the community and create a new comprehensive plan. As you may remember, comprehensive planning is a tool utilized to try to take in the needs of the citizens and our business owners and the elected officials and other community stakeholders to look forward and see where those new growth opportunities are and help us prepare in a technical way to make sure we maintain those goals. In the request for proposals that we put out, we actually asked for a 10-year plan. We've been operating on a 20-year plan. And when we went to review it last year with the Planning Commission, which is a requirement that the Planning Commission review their comprehensive plan annually, we'd really made a lot of progress towards those goals. And so taking a more modern approach that allows for a lot more flexibility, this RFP asked for a 10-year proposal so that we'd had more time to see those changes being made and make sure we're still on the right course. Mm-hmm. The proposals were due on April 1st, and they were submitted to the Planning and Zoning Administrator. 7 firms submitted the proposals, both in print and in digital form. And then the Comprehensive Selection Committee, which is comprised of 6 individuals, the mayor served on it, and we had 2 members of the Planning Commission, the city manager, myself, and the zoning administrator to review those proposals. We met on April 4th and then continued the discussions, weighing them against the criteria and then on the references that were submitted from the community feedback. Each proposal was ranked on the approach, content, and timeline at 45% of a weight. The qualification and demonstrated competencies provided 35% of the weight, just like we'd mentioned in the RP when we asked for those. And then the past projects experiences and client references came in at 20%. The selection committee did note that they were all fairly strong proposals, so these came in really, really close. 2 proposals, though, rose to the top, and they were picked using more reliance on the client references and other nuances in the proposal details. Olson ended up being the top rank. Then the city staff entered into discussions to establish the scope of services, this expense schedule, and to review the general provisions. Those are attached in your packet. And one item that was of special note that during the discussion points was to continue to push forward the items in the selection committee, which was to make sure that there was robust public engagement plan. And then also noting that this had an updated housing study proposal in it with actually the same firm that did our housing study previously. And the public surveying tool utilized was taken of great note as it's quite well known. And then the other success they had with similar communities, especially in our surrounding metro area. This item, I apologize, is copied exactly from the Planning Commission's, but I did present this to the Planning Commission last night, and they had no other additional comments. They knew it would go to you to direct staff. The city manager is a signatory on this proposal.
Thank you for working to define that scope of work and refine it so that they were actually on site a little more, less virtual.
It was a great team effort.
So you just need,
I motion to update the section of the city's comprehensive plan. Allow direct staff to enter into the agreement with Olson.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'd second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries. Donna, anybody on the clipboard?
You're on, Mike.
Mike Fellows.
Can I give you all handouts first?
You got
This is a different one.
Different one? Okay.
I've been coming in front of this group for, it's my 3rd time to do this. And
Thank you.
I'll leave you with one of those.
Do you have a?
Thanks, Mike.
My name's Mike Fellows, and I live here in Newton, Kansas. And about 3 years ago, I came up with this crazy idea to work with the schools, the students, the teachers, local businesses, city officials like yourself, and school board members to come up with a constitution contest where we come out with the flyer. You have a copy of the draft for this year's flyer that introduces a question to the high school seniors, and they're asked to participate in a contest. They participate free will. They don't get graded for the paper. There's no extra credit for the paper. It is simply to ask them to explore an idea about the Constitution, write a 2-page paper, and submit it to Carson Mateel, the social science teacher at Newton High School. After they're all submitted, I gather a group of judges together, and we have a meeting. It's going to take approximately 4 hours, and we review the papers and rank them. And then we determine first, second, and third prize. And then later in the event, we have a ceremony where we hand out the checks. $750 for first place, $500 for second, $250 for third. All the participants get a certificate from me. But the key to the process right now is judges and funding, of course. I've met with the city commissioners in Burton and Sedgwick. They've agreed to send a delegate. The school board at USD 373 in Newton and the school board in Sedgwick have agreed to send a delegate. I'm in front of this group. I'm looking for a judge, a delegate, if one of you would like to step forward. I don't need to know that tonight because it takes about 4 hours 4 hours out of your night on October 16th. We'll be having the judging event locally here at Lutheran Zion Church. And then a few weeks later, we'll have the ceremony. Stephen Owens, Avery Anderson, Mike King. Last year, we had Roger Erickson from Ron Estes' office, came and all participated in the ceremony. So that's kind of the program that we've put together. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. I think the kids that get involved with it enjoy it. And then in my part, it gives me the opportunity to read papers that the seniors in our high schools write about an idea of the Constitution. I think it's important for you to know what your kids are thinking in your local community, where they're not worried about getting a grade, they're not worried about extra credit, they're worried about coming up with a creative idea or response to a question on the Constitution. Leroy, we learned a lot last year. We're going to be making some changes to how the grading's done and how the awards are presented, but that's kind of the way the program works. I'm excited to be in front of this group again to get an opportunity to invite one of the 5 of you, Kathy's not here, of course, to help me put this on this year. And like I said, August 1st is when, if you guys want to talk about who might come and represent Newton, I'd let you do that. And then my contact information is all in the handout that I gave you. And then finally, like I said, I'm always trying to raise money. I've got about a third of my goal. It takes about $2,100 to put the program on. I'm about a third of the way there right now. The good news is I contacted Hillsdale College. They're going to send me 350 pocket constitutions. We hand these out to the high school seniors because on September 17th, it's a federal law that they have to study the Constitution. Do you realize the schools don't really provide that to our students right now? So by doing this, I know all the seniors that participate in this program, the 4 schools, have an opportunity to be exposed to something about the Constitution of the United States. And I think that's very important, especially with the times we have today. Is there any questions? Or
I think it's great work.
so,
Good job.
well, thank you for
Yeah,
your time.
it's a very educational experience and process, and I think it's very worthwhile. It does take a little time, but it also, as you read through some of the papers, you kind of get a flavor of, you can tell that some of these students have a heavy parental or family culture influence in how they view the world and how they view the Constitution. That's not good or bad, it just is, and it's good to see that there's still some strong family influence.
I agree. Yeah, it's been very rewarding. I think Rod feels the same way. Oh, and then the final thing that we do, Rod Fry was generous enough the first year that he actually bought a traveling trophy. The traveling trophy goes into the trophy case at the high school where the winner is. So the last 2 years, that trophy has resided in Newton's trophy cabinet. But I can tell you the Chargers and the Cardinals and the Dragons all want to have that trophy go home with them this year. So
Good.
hopefully the Raiders can keep it. That's a biased opinion, but anyway, thank you.
I've judged before too, and I'm available that date, but I would yield to somebody else if you haven't done it before. It really is a good experience.
Yeah.
So you'll have at least one commissioner.
Yeah,
We just
you'll
might
have
not-
somebody. We just don't know who
We
at
just
this
don't
point.
know who it is, so.
Thank you. We'll look forward to that.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.
Well, we'll go around the horn. Anything, sir?
I don't have anything.
Daniela?
Anything?
One quick update. A couple months ago, we approved that interlocal agreement regarding Themium Park. We did receive AG approval on that. I'll send that out, but just want to keep that update going.
Rebecca?
Just want a huge shout out to our building and code officials that came tonight and gave their evening to help
Yeah.
go over a lot of work.
Big deal.
I want to know how many of them read that stack of papers.
Anything?
I'm good.
No? Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.